a world of podcast, only one podcast can be refined as fudge. I was going to say it, didn't you? Well, I didn't. Y'all, I'm Bigg Vinny here. We're back at the Refined Life podcast here. We're going to go ahead and make this whole thing 2 episodes because we were having too much fun talking to our buddy Nick. So you're going to get to hear from Nick again this week, and we're going to talk about some really cool stuff. This time we're going to focus more. Last time we just getting to know each other, kind of hearing each other's stories, talking a little bit. But this time we're going to really dive more into the program of what he does, helping men become better men. And you know, what I would think is, what's the starting process? So say I'm a dude. I mean, I am a dude. Say I'm a dude in 2024, and I want to be more than just a guy. Yep. No, but I come to you. I'm like, man, I love what I heard on stage tonight because you speak and you're great at all this. I come to you and I say, man, I want to join this program. What's my first step?
The first step is we run them through this 90-day experience called Protocol, which is essentially like it's kind of we're dating. We're not married yet, and so for the first 90 days, we're kind of vetting you and you're vetting us. Then after that, the agreements are usually 1 year. That's like the 30,000 foot logistical view. But essentially what happens in Protocol, after working with so many male entrepreneurs, like we have to do things in a certain order or it just doesn't stick. And the first thing is clarity. And so we just spend a lot of time getting you really clear on what you want. So like I can sum this whole thing up in like 4 short steps, which he saw some of this in my little prezo. Essentially, step 1 is we create the gap. So we figure out what is your letter A and what's your letter B. Like, where are you at now? Where do you want to be? Simple as, right? And it sounds simple, but you'd be surprised. Most people will lie to me about where they're at because it's the male ego. So they'll come to me and A is here and B is here. And by the time I'm done with them, and by done I mean in an hour, this is the real gap. And they're like, hey Nick, I thought you were going to like help me win here. You just created a bigger gap. Well, number 1, tell the truth. Like, you're not making that much. You're not that cool. Your sex life isn't that good. You don't connect with your kids. Just guys flex, right? They just tell you half truths. So we get them radically honest, and then 9 times out of 10, they're what they think they want. There's 2 scenarios that happen every single time. Either they just aren't clear on why they want it, so then we quickly realize that's not really what they want. They want that because that's what Instagram says is cool. They want the objective version of success, right? They want the car, the house, the wife, the thing. But the reality is the easiest way to hit them in the chin with that one is why. Why do you want those things? Yeah. And the answer is usually they can't come up with it. They stumble around, but the reality is because you want them, because he wants them, because you said it's cool, because social pressure says it's what I need to do. This is the definition, white picket fence. The other scenario is they're pretty clear, or so they think on what they want, but they're playing small. Right. Like most men have no clue what they're truly capable of, like what their actual capacity is. So it always just moves the marker further out. So your A and B are here. You hang out with me for an hour. Now your A is here and your B is here. You're frustrated. But what we do for a living is we collapse time. Yeah. Like we really do. Like I'll tell you right now, in the Protocol, and I could give you a handful of guys that are going through it right now. They're actually on day 34, 35. We'll get more done in 90 days than any, like I hate to say this, but anybody will get done in a year. Like go line up 100 dudes, and I promise you, these guys in 90 days will outperform all those guys, and they can have till Christmas. You can have till Christmas to get done. They're gonna but I say outperform, I mean they're gonna get more done across every faith, family, fitness, and finance. They're gonna move the needle like you would not believe. Yeah. Like they're gonna look completely different. They're gonna operate differently. Their relationships are gonna be different. Their financial situation is gonna be different in a 90-day sprint. And then you come up for air, and then we decide if you're a good fit for the program. Yeah. So
I love that.
So when do we start?
That's it. See, I told you. I listened to him for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was ready to give him my money.
I mean, the A-B thing intrigued me right away.
I'm ready to give him your money too.
Yeah, we'll give you all of it.
That's only step 1. I got 3 more steps, gentlemen.
That A-B thing, I think that's where I'm at right now. Is the more that I start looking at it, like you set up these things and you're like, yeah, I want this and this and this, and then you start going, wait a minute, do I? Because I have to do this to do that, but and especially when you talk about men having so much more that they can accomplish and not understanding that. I think that a lot of us get lost in it, and I hope no one takes this as an ego thing. I don't mean it that way, but if as you start to find your talents, you often find so many different talents. Yeah. And it gets confusing, and you get bogged down on which direction to go and what part is going to make you happy. And then you got all these things, and you kind of half-ass dabble here and half-ass dabble here, and then nothing actually happens.
So we can help you get clear on that when I talk about clarity.
But you get further and further away too. The more that you
so there's this Japanese word called ikigai, which is Japanese for basically purpose, like life purpose. And so there's this Venn diagram, you can look it up, and it's basically trying to figure out what is your actual like particular skill set, what do you love doing, what adds value to this world, and what can you monetize. And sometimes I lose some of my hardcore Christians on the monetized part because they still have a story that like money is kind of like the root of all evil, or I shouldn't make
love
it
of money. We always talk
about
about
it's weird they say that too. It's weird they say that too because so many of our leaders in the Bible had a ton of freaking money. They were very, very.
I mean, Jesus had a
successful.
treasurer. I mean, Judas was his treasurer, which might have not been their best choice for treasurer.
Look,
but Judas was the treasurer.
Man after God's own heart.
If you don't got no
was
money,
David.
you don't need a treasurer. I'm
Right,
just saying.
but man after God's own heart was David.
Yeah,
all the
yeah.
things he did wrong, and look at also what he created and accomplished.
Yeah.
But anyway, so
Well,
you're talking about the icky.
Yeah, icky guy. Yeah, icky guy.
I struggle with the B.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If it's a here's
I have no clue.
We talked earlier about the
what's the B?
what do you want? How do you answer this question? What do you want?
18
What do you want?
B's.
Yeah, it's. I mean,
So we help you cast that perfect vision. So let me start with our 4Fs: faith, family, fitness, and finance. And so I take you down some pretty powerful subconscious work because the reality is most men can't articulate what they want, or maybe they have 18 letter Bs. The reality is there is this vision for your life that you see. Like I've done enough meditative work, and like if you've heard of transcendental meditation, which is like you guys know Sadhguru is like an hour from here, right? You guys know
What
who
is it?
Sadhguru is? I'll call him Sadhguru. You know. If you look up SAD Guru, right? He's literally like akin to, if not actually called this, he's the modern Dalai Lama, and he has a compound an hour and a half from here.
okay.
So he's like the number one like meditative guru in the world, and he's literally in our
I did see that
backyard.
one guy got stabbed, or they tried to stab him yesterday, but the knife didn't open. Did you see that?
Oh yeah, the guy that's been running around. Wasn't the girl running
He
around
wears
stabbing
like
people?
I don't know where he's from. He wears like he's a priest. They tried to stab him yesterday, tried to kill him. He was very outspoken about not getting the jab and all this other stuff.
Yeah,
But
and they're like, I'll jab you.
somebody walked up in his church yesterday and tried to stab him, and their blade didn't open or whatever, so he like beat him with it, and then the church grabbed him and hauled him out of there. But yeah, so
There's something
anyways,
there.
I'm sorry that just
No,
hit me when
absolutely.
you said that.
Yeah, so the reality is like when we talk about clarity, when I ask a guy, as soon as he sits down with me, I'm like, what do you want, man? I'm like, look, you got a year with me, or you got 90 days, then potentially a year. Like, what does it look like? Like, if we could wave a wand right now, 1 year from now, like, what does your life look like? And we'll go through the domains: faith, family, fitness, and finance. And they think they can get clear on the finance F, of course, because there's a lot of mental masturbation that goes on there. But the reality is most men have no clue what it really looks like. And so all that to say, the more granular I can get you, the more clear the vision, the more likelihood we're going to make it a reality. Yeah. And then my job, and so the biggest place that we differ, and I could go through the other 3 steps quickly, get in and out of them though, is it's I can't stress this enough. It's called the program because the program is just another word for your subconscious. So like everybody here listening to this and everybody in this room, like your program was written from age 0 to 7. Facts. You can look it up all day long. From age 0 to 7, when you step into this world, crawl into this world, born into this world, you're in what's called a theta brainwave state. And when you're in theta, it's hypnosis, which is why kids can absorb 2 languages and learn classical piano before they can even, like, you know what I mean? Like, kids are sponges because they actually don't process data like you guys are processing data right now. We're actually in a beta state, which I'll get to in a second. So as soon as you're born into this world, for the first 7 years, you're in theta. And so what's frightening is, like, raise your hand if you had control over your environment from 0 to 7. Well, who had control? Parents. Right? Church starts showing up, kids start showing up, maybe you get some sports, right? So like school, so all that to say, you have no control over what was written. And then the reason I say 7 years, again, biologically, your body produces a new set of cells every 7 years. So 7 to 14, you're in what's called an alpha brainwave state, which is where I take most of my guys when we do our deep meditative work, which is like, for example, on Fridays, you can't get a hold of me. That's the day I work on my business. That's where I do my creator or visionary work. And when I put my whole work environment into an alpha state with these things called solfeggio frequencies and binaural beats, basically I can get my brain into an alpha state at the click of a button now. I've been doing it for a long time. And in alpha, you can also absorb data at about a 300% rate of somebody that is in beta. And so from 14 on, you stay in beta, which is basically like fight or flight, fucking saber-toothed tigers coming. This is like literally a survival instinct. But that's why they call them the formative years. Your entire program is formed from 0 to 7 mainly, and then again from 7 to 14. And so the reality is when I talk to guys, like for example, are you guys familiar with like Ed Milet and Andy Frisella, right?
Yeah.
So they run this thing called Arate, and I love these dudes. I've been on stage with Milet. I've actually never met Frisella in person other than been to some live events. But they run this thing called Arate. It came to Nashville recently. 2,000 people at this event in an airplane hangar in downtown Nashville. I don't know if that's what it really was, but that's what it felt like in there. And I've been to 3 or 4 of their events, and I actually know. So we've got, of course, like some cross-pollination happening. I've got some of their members in mine. They've got some of my members in theirs. And I'm asking these guys always, like, are you winning? And the answer is never yes. Like, they go to these events to be part of something bigger than them, to get the Instagram reel with, Frisella in the background. Like, they just go, and I get that. It kind of feels good. But the reality is simply this. What these guys are selling from stage, and not these guys in terms of those two, I was just using them as an actual example of one that I visited recently. This mastermind game, the reason it's so effed up is the stuff that they're selling from stage is actually legit. That's the problem. Like, the frameworks, the hacks, the blueprints, the whatever, all that stuff is cool, but you're not ready to execute against it because subconsciously you will self-sabotage every single day because your program is scarcity, because your program is unworthy, because your program is I'm not that guy, so I can't do this thing. So the blueprint only has to work for one dude to prove that the blueprint's sound, and it worked for the guy who's hawking it from stage. But he's selling the wrong shit because if you don't focus on the businessman, at least 80-20 to the business plan, he's never going to win. So what we've done over the last couple of years is flip the script, and we do all the work on the dude. I can build anything. I built some big businesses. I built a couple 8-figure companies. I used to have a debt collection company, 700 kids on phones, 23 locations, 7 figures passive.
They called me a few times.
Yeah, I guarantee it. Yeah. But debt collection, you can imagine the lack of integrity in that thing. And so I burnt that to the ground when I had like my moral epiphany, which I mentioned last time. And then I had my law firm, of course. I built that up pretty big. And then I literally think every lawyer on the planet Earth is a liar by trade. So, I refuse to lawyer ever again. So I'm not an attorney anymore.
Been in the music industry yet.
Yeah. So, man, it's so crazy because we do a whole talk that I call Car and Driver, whereas everyone's trying to build this badass car, like a Formula One or a Ferrari or something. They want this cool-ass car, which represents their business. But the reality is you're not ready to make turn 2. You can't work the clutch. You can't work that. You don't even know what you're doing. Mm-hmm. You're not ready to get behind that vehicle. So, here's a simple example. If I take Jeff Bezos and I put him in your company tomorrow, what happens to that company?
It blows up.
Yeah. And I'm not saying Bezos' money, just Bezos' mindset, just who Bezos is at his core. And conversely, if I put you around Amazon...
It's the reason they're willing to go on Shark Tank. Take deals that normally they wouldn't.
That don't make no sense financially, but if I get that dude in my corner, it's a wrap.
Yeah,
I'm paying for the relationship.
I'd rather have 10% of the company that Mark Cuban is going to blow up.
Got an interest in.
Hundreds of millions
exactly.
of dollars.
And so, it's so mind-blowing to me that everyone is joining these groups to grow their money, bro, but they don't understand that at a subconscious level, they don't believe that they can get to the next level. And so then it actually perpetuates. There's this thing called the Pygmalion effect, or you've heard it called the self-fulfilling prophecy. So if my belief at my core is I'm not good enough to be Ed Milet, but I go by Ed Milet's strategies that clearly worked for him and I execute against him, and the result is I don't get Ed Milet's life, well, that scariest gap there is it then reaffirms the belief that I'm not good enough. Right. I knew I wasn't good enough. This framework worked.
Yeah. But because
so it's a frightening
you had
cycle.
That belief, that's why you weren't good enough.
Correct.
I'm sure that you run into this quite a bit then, because I think that where I struggle, and you guys may agree with this, but for me personally, where I struggle the most in that is that there's something in my brain that tells me I can accomplish and create anything. But there's also something majorly in my brain that tells me I'm not worthy of any of it, or that I'm not good enough to do it. And that blows my mind, and you fight with it so much because you feel like you can and you feel like you can't all at the same time. And if you were to tell me you can't do that, I'd be like, bullshit, I can too.
That's a chip on your
shoulder. But then I'm going to go to bed tonight and then go, man, that guy's probably right, I can't.
Yeah.
It's a total different thing.
But see, at least you have a couple different voices going on in there, because believe it or not, some people don't have the belief that
I got more than those two.
Yeah. But to your point,
to all of them.
I'm a firm believer in I could literally put me in a room with 10 dudes, and I promise you, by the time we gotta put up or shut up, I'm gonna be at the top. Because my life has shown me that over time. So to your point, and to me it's called permission. So when I see someone I let from stage who's crushing life, it's just permission. That guy did it. He's got the same 24 hours. He's got all these excuses and stories around circumstance, around I don't have that it factor, that off factor. You can do anything. And so, but it's believing that deeply at your core, because again, this is the problem with affirmations. You can't jump up and down because Tony Robbins says walk on coals and put a post on your fucking mirror while you brush your teeth, say I'm the man. and expect your life to change.
That's right.
Because that's conscious behavior, and your subconscious runs 95% of your life, your brain. 5% is prefrontal cortex, PFC. And so, like, I'll tell you right now, the average human makes 30,000 decisions in a day. That's no joke. Now, some of those are like stop, go, lift foot, breathe, whatever. Like, eyes are blinking, there's a light right there. Like, obviously, some of those are like actual, like, stay alive behaviors. But 30,000 decisions are made in a day. And I promise you, like, the subconscious, your life as you see it, your bank account, the relationship with your wife, your kids, the things you do or don't have, the way you feel about yourself, your life is a printout of your program. So if your entire, like, operating system is right here and I press Control P print, that's what you're seeing. What you're projecting in this world. Everything you have in your life, you've called into your life, whether you believe that or not. And so you've called in, maybe you're struggling financially. You've called that into your life because you're so afraid. You have a scarcity mindset. You hold on to fucking everything. You're not willing to take risks. You don't believe. You don't surrender. You will be broke forever. I promise you. This is the generational curse. Like the guys that are winning, yeah, they started out as trust fund babies, but they were also grew up in a mindset of abundance.
Yeah.
And so they just attract abundance, believe it or not. It's not. It's like, is there a leg up when you have an account with $2 million in it and you get to start your first company? Sure. But I can hand that same $2 million to a guy that has a poverty or scarcity mindset whose parents clipped coupons and said, be a blue collar. What are you doing? What's this entrepreneur thing you're doing? This is frightening. I could give them both $2 million. And one's going to shit the bed because at his core, he's not ready. But he wants to go to the fucking seminar and download the fucking thing and do the thing and win.
It rings so true because then you two have witnessed it. The past 2 years, I've said, man, October sucks. And that's where my year goes to shit. And then I'm broke till March. The past 2 years. And he's confirming that that's my mindset.
No, you know what? I've always done the same thing with music. I'm like, boy, I got to make all the money I can up until December because we know, halfway through December till March there's no
so
shows
December to March and October for March will always be dead for you guys.
Yeah,
because you set it up that way. Because you called that into your life.
Yeah,
yeah.
Because there was someone out there winning during those months because they said, "Ooh, I can't wait for these months because everyone else is going to down tools. Everyone else is going to have this story. That's where I turn up."
Yeah,
I crush these months. And just that alone. But again, you have to believe it at your core. When I say core, I mean your program. Yeah. Like what I do for a living essentially is reprogram people. But I don't write your programs. That's disgusting. Like that's the difference. And the reason we use a lot of military tactics, by the way, is because the military are the best. Yes.
Because it works better than everything else we're doing.
Yeah. Correct. I can so when I take guys out in the woods and we physically beat them, like so I'll give you the entire event. Ready for this? Beat down, break through, build up, bond, brotherhood. There you go. That's the secret to running any man's event. That if you want to get guys to run through a brick wall,
that's also how you join a gang.
Yeah,
you get beat down first.
Yeah, but that's the military is where I got that from, by the way. So that's because they got to take you through basic training and how and all the things, and you got to be able to take a bullet for the guy from another state that you've never met before. And then by the way, you both got to put on the badge that says U.S. and go out there and kill whoever they tell you to kill. So the difference between where we jump ship from the military is we do it to open you up. But then we give you the tools to write your own program. And that's why we got to get you clear first on what do you want, because it's going to take a certain program to get you there. And right now, this version of you is not cutting it, player.
So how often do you work with veterans?
Interestingly enough, we don't seek them out. I'll give you an interesting stat. Our number one members from like a pure statistical standpoint are somehow they have former military experience or they're former addicts. Like our addicts crush, dude. Our former addicts, I should say, because the reality is everybody's an addict.
Well, I got your former addict over here,
but they crush entrepreneurs that were former addicts. Game over.
The military,
and I'll tell you why.
The military. I'm curious because I was talking to a buddy not long ago and realizing how many of those guys, the exact same thing that you're talking about, how they were treated in the military, created great success for them in the military. However, it also created some other things that weren't so great for them, and seeing a program that could take that same mindset, something that they're used to being trained as,
but then give them the tools
to open back up. And like the buddy, one of them said something about, he's like, essentially the military broke me down, and then they built me back up. And when they built me back up, they built this monster
for what their purpose was.
Yeah, because they needed this monster inside me to go out and do my job. He was like, but then as I'm facing retirement, I got to figure out what I do with that monster over here. And so a program like yours could definitely turn around, because like in our program, it's all about purpose. What is your purpose?
Yep.
What are you looking for in life? Who has that? How did they get it? And how do you go out and accomplish this?
Rather than just kind of people.
But if you don't have an overall purpose, You believe, and that's what I watch with our military so much. And people are coming out of prison, people are coming out of any sort of life transition.
Yeah.
They had this purpose over here, whether it was a good purpose or bad purpose, and now they don't know what to do.
Yeah, they build a machine, they wound it up, and they say, go attack that. And then when that's done, all they know is like, what do I do next? You know what I mean?
Right. You take a drug dealer, like,
yeah.
how do you get out of that game? I mean, because what else are you doing? How are you shifting that attention from that exciting of a life,
Yep.
you know, to in it? Same way with our military, you know. I mean, you see so many of our military that are riding motorcycles and stuff, and they're riding them fast, and they're good at it.
Because Matt showed up on his Ducati today. He's like, yeah, I did 110 on the way here. I kept it easy. I was like, bro.
Right.
But so here's the thing. When I think
that's the only reason I asked that, because it's the same sort of program, you know.
Well,
and like,
he's more excited lately. He's been down to the property too. We call it Elysium, which is another story. But all that to say, he literally is more excited to take some of his Green Beret and like crazy knowledge, and help me unpack dudes with it, because he's very familiar with how effective the military is. But to your point, where we diverge from their path is, I'm going to open you wide up and show you what's possible. But before that, I'm going to get you clear on what you want. Then I'm going to walk alongside you, and you're going to write a program. I'm just going to make sure you actually stick to it so you can get what you say that you want. And so, like, it's been an interesting ride, because I didn't know what I was signing up for. I was just trying to help people win, and I didn't know what a win looked like. And then the more clear we got, I was okay, how can we be better? Like, every single thing we do is so results-oriented that even my wife, like, it hurts her heart, because, like, I'm not winning right now. I make less money than I've ever made in my life. But I've created more wealth in the marketplace than I've ever, 24 years as an entrepreneur. In the last 2.5 years, we'll be 3 years old in September. I've put more wealth into the marketplace than I ever did on my own, because I'm just helping everyone else win. And I know my time's coming. And at this point, if I can pay my bills and build out this property to help more dudes, it's a win for me. Yeah. And I know it sounds like a bit martyrdom, but that's like, I've noticed this character arc of the entrepreneur. I'm 43 now. I'll be 43 in June. It's like,
28th.
I've had no 8th, but close enough.
I'm 28th.
See, we're best friends.
See,
Except I don't know if that's still Gemini. I don't think you're.
No, I'm Cancer.
Yeah, see, my brother, who people think is my twin, is Cancer, in every sense of the words. I'm just kidding. I love him to death. Yeah, so like, it's crazy. I call it the character arc of the entrepreneur, where it's like you definitely start to develop this philanthropy side, because to your point, like, so let's go back to the A and B thing.
When you have a knowledge, you feel like that you have to share it.
Absolutely, like it's your calling, and like I'll have guys actually write down the word calling on the board, and really try to, because when you talk about purpose, so like I'll just quickly get in and out of this. When you're trying to get from A to B, what do you use? You're driving somewhere. What do you use? What tool do you use? What technology? GPS, right? So the first thing we rewire is what drives them, what gets them from A to B, and we call it good to great. So I'm usually working with guys that are doing pretty good. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, good is actually the enemy of great, because good is what? Like, it's good enough.
Right.
It's complacency. Like, good is the enemy of great, because people get to good, and then they just like, okay, I'm doing all right, and they let off the gas. And then what's new becomes normal, what's normal becomes numb. All that to say, good to great, from profit generated to purpose. So we literally switched their whole business model. Like, how can you actually put people first, which is the whole 3% becomes the 6% delta. But don't focus on profit. You'll make more money if you focus on purpose. And that will drive you during those dark times when like the money's not there, et cetera. And my favorite one, this is what I'm personally on this road right now. The S, GPS, is success to significance. And I think what has filled my cup for the last 2.5 years as I have made less money is the phone calls from someone's wife or from a guy, and he's crying and he can't believe what his daughter said to him and how he's been showing up, and you know what I mean, like the reconnection here, or he lost 40 pounds and he finally broke this barrier at his work, and he's just like, his wife like will just turn to him and say, I'm so proud of who you are, like shit like that you can't even begin to describe how much more. You'll never convince me that an extra zero in my bank account is worth more than the feeling that I can't even talk about to cry.
Nothing more rewarding than your wife or my daughters giving me accolades. Like, they're acknowledging that I've done something and done it well.
Yeah.
This particular group that you're sitting in, I would say, is kind of backwards from that. So I'm curious of where you go with that then. Because with us, we're probably a lot more driven in a purpose, and then we have trouble understanding. Like, I'll just speak for myself. You'll find these purposes, and you go, yeah, this is where it feels best. This is what it feels best doing. This is where my talents seem to shine. But then finding the financing to take care of that, because you don't necessarily know how to make money off of your purpose.
Yeah.
And so then I wind up pushing the purpose aside and stepping over here so I can make more money, so that I can.
So you have the capacity to create more purpose, because
right, but then I'm not doing the purpose.
Yeah.
What I can tell you for sure, if I'm here or here, that's where life feels the best for me.
Sure. but you still got to pay bills over there.
Right.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and that's something that, we call this your bridge to purpose. And so I get my guys. We've got these 3 levels of ascension to the program, and I might be giving too much away, but the final version is called the profit table.
No, you're not. 'Cause, I mean, 'cause it's all great, but we still don't know how to do it.
No, I'm saying it's called the profit table, which I only have 6 guys that sit at this table, and it's a table that looks just like this. There's no head, no foot, no leader. I sit there too, right? And we all share similar to what we're doing in here. And you squish it together. The profit table is really the profitable. And so my goal is to show you how to make a ton of money, so you can put some passive things on autopilot, so we can dive deeper into your purpose. Because the reality is, I can't get too far into someone's purpose until they're profitable, because even if they think they found it, but if they can't monetize it, they lack the capacity to truly go 110 in that direction. And when we write the word calling down, it's the craziest thing. Look at it when you get a chance. Take off the C and the G, and it says all in. And so there is no half stepping. There's no half assing. Once you figured out what you're called to do for the rest of your life, there is no like, oh, I'll do it when it's comfortable. Oh, I'll do it on the weekends. Oh, I'll do it when I find a way to monetize it. Bro, I burnt down 7 figures passive. I burnt 2 boats to take this island called purpose. And it's been the hardest thing I've ever done. Like I said, my wife, my kids, I had to tell them, hey, Dad had this crazy moral epiphany. He's never going to tell a lie again. He's going to walk dudes through truth. And all the skills he learned as an entrepreneur, and then all the things not to do, he's just going to teach dudes and see where it goes. But private lessons got to stop. All your 40K Jeeps have got to go. Like, I don't know what it looks like right now if we can pay these bills. This quality of life that I built for you, superhero cape's got to go, because that was bullshit, Dad. That was ego, Dad. That was liar, Dad. And have that conversation with your family and see if you're willing to go all in. You know what I mean?
Dude, I've got to introduce you. I'm not going to say his name on air because I don't know if he'd want it, but there's a buddy, when you first started telling your story, it reminded me of this guy, because he had built this company. He sold the company for $998 million.
Wow.
And he said that,
that was the
day that he sold it, was it for 30 cents on the dollar what it was worth?
Yeah.
It was something very low. I mean, he said that he literally got up, put on his expensive suit, slicked his hair back, and he was like, and I was looking in the mirror, and he was like, and something just hit different that morning.
Yeah.
He was like, and I looked in the mirror, and I thought, I hate you. Oof. It's like, I hated the man that was standing there. It's like, because my business was designed around finding businesses that could be successful, but they weren't. And then going in, competing against them, breaking them down completely,
and
buying them cheap,
acquisition strategy,
and then building it all back
and
up.
doing a roll up, man.
Yeah. And he was like, and for where he lived, he was like, I was like royalty there. He was like, and my kids all had that black card. They all had everything they wanted. They got in any club, anything. And he's like, and when I walked in that morning, I decided that it just wasn't worth it. And I told him to sell the business to the first offer that came in. And he was like, and his entire family disowned him.
Yes, that's
for one son.
Good for him.
One son stuck beside him. Woo. He was like, and everyone else in his family disowned him. He's like, and it was crazy. He's like, none of them had ever done anything to deserve the life. They didn't earn that life. Yeah. I gave them that.
You pulled it from him, though.
You ever heard Shaquille O'Neal say that? And his kids say, we're rich, Daddy. He goes, no, you ain't rich.
Yeah,
I'm rich.
Well, that's the thing, too. So my sentence I say a lot is 50 by 50, and then I'm giving it all away. And my kids get a little frustrated sometimes, but they're getting better at dealing with that. I'm going to make 50 million by 50 years old liquid, and then I'm giving it all away in different forms. And each kid is getting less than 7 figures and possibly one property if they do a tremendous amount, and I've already got some check marks in place of like financial literacy work, because I will not raise a trust fund, baby. You know, to your point, one of the biggest mistakes I made when I made a ton of money was, you know, one of the sentences I hold behind really firm is like, it's about teaching all your kids the shit you never learned instead of buying them all the shit you never had. Because I was homeless. So my answer was always like, oh, here's the thing. I bought my kids love, or I thought I was, you know?
Yeah. Right.
And I was such a non-present dad because I was out there building my empire and doing horrible things, cheating on my wife. My answer was always, you got the private lessons, you go to Paris, you want the thing, you get the thing, you want the car, you want the house, like credit cards, like, hey, here's all the things. Dad loves you. And then you quickly realize, like, my kids, my daughter, when she went away.
All they really wanted was you.
That's it, man.
Yeah.
This is how bad I was. Like, I had bad body issues, which is why I got into bodybuilding. Mm-hmm. There's probably a 15-year period where I never took my shirt off at my own house, not once. And then there was a rule that if the shirt came off, all phones and all cameras had to go. Damn, and we had a really nice pool.
I walk around with no shirt on all the time.
Well, we had at Cali, we spent like $150 grand in the backyard building the pool out. Our house was like that house, right? And like, it was just, it's so selfish, and I can't even say it now because it hurts to like know that we could be in the backyard and the kids want me to throw them in the pool or goof off with them or whatever, but we don't have memories of any of that because it was an actual like cardinal sin to pull a camera out if Dad had his shirt off. And I have abs like year round. Like I'm 238, 234 right now.
Yeah.
And I did the whole bodybuilding. I did the steroid thing, but like the reality is I was never really in horrible shape. But I felt like my story was people have an expectation of how I should look with my shirt off.
Yeah.
And maybe it's off season and I don't look like that.
Yeah.
So where I'm getting with this is I was so selfish in my own and lived in my own world that I didn't even pause to like capture a moment with my kids in the pool because Dad was a selfish prick.
Yeah.
And they don't to this day. They'll tell you like that.
You was suffering from body dysmorphia.
Exactly.
And I think for me, when I first lost all my weight, I was so much more comfortable whenever I was that 500-pound guy because it was like, who cares?
Yeah.
You can't hide it. You know?
Sure.
And so but when I first lost all the weight, of course, I had a massive amount of excess skin I had removed and stuff like that. But I would never take my shirt off because I would see what I wanted to look like, which was the bodybuilder guys. And I'm like, well, I don't look like that. I don't have those kind of abs, and my chest has got some hanging skin. I didn't get the skin removed from here, And I was like, so I would kind of have that mentality of not taking my shirt off or not being that way. And then after I got my skin surgery, I got a little bit more comfortable with it, but I still had like the excess around my chest and a little bit in my back and stuff like that. But I don't know, it broke for me. I think whenever we had kids, my wife, who was, has a million bodybuilding trophies and all this other stuff, when she didn't get back to that shredded up six pack that she was normally used to having, she walked around like that. Even when it was off season, she still had a six pack, and for her, like she didn't do this massive, bulk and drop and bulk and drop. In her mind, because she didn't have that six pack, she was in terrible shape and she looked terrible, even though I was like, baby, you look
That's the
great.
disease, man. Yeah.
And so even now, we had two kids in less than 3 years. She had C-sections on both because she didn't dilate, and one was a scheduled C-section, the other was emergency. And, even right now she battles that because, where they cut her, it stays inflamed and she feels like it makes her look pregnant and all this other stuff. And there's some days it's flat and it looks like she thinks it should look, still no six pack. But in her mind, I think because she's not what that was, even though she can go in the gym and crush anybody.
Yeah.
I'm like her like the way she's in shape. I'm like, babe, you're in great shape. You're just a 43-year-old woman now who's.
No, the reality is 99% of the world would kill to have her body after 2 kids and 43.
Yeah,
and
she looks great.
There's teenagers that would kill to have her body, but to her, it doesn't mean it's until you learn to like. It's the hardest thing in the world, and I still struggle with it at times. I think we all do. Is till you fully learn to just love who you are at your core, and like this is me, player. Like this is what you get. Yeah,
it's so funny. I'm sitting there thinking, now I weigh 333 pounds, and you weigh 120 or 119 or whatever it is. I think I can say that on there. If you think that about you, what do you think about me?
My wife and I had that conversation not long ago. Like we stopped talking crap about ourselves because we're like, you're hurting the other person when you're doing that.
Yeah.
Because if you're so focused on what you look like and what's wrong with you, there's no way for that other person not to think, how are they not judging me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
my wife would tell me, she goes, I think you're the sexiest man in the world. I'm like, I've seen Chris Hemsworth and Thor. Okay,
he's a real dreamboat. So
yeah. But no, I just think it's interesting you say that because when you first said you had body issues, I didn't know you was talking about body dysmorphia. I thought you meant that you used to be a heavier guy or something.
Yeah, that's immediately where your thought goes.
That's where my mind was. Like, oh, you used to be heavier, but and I think we were talking about this a while ago too, and it hit me whenever you were first kind of saying everything. I'm not a material guy, so like as you can see, I'm wearing Walmart shorts and a shirt that my buddy gave me from his company.
Man, those are pretty slick shoes you get on there.
Yeah, I got these on discount at the Nike outlet. They were $38. So go to the Nike outlet and get you some $38 Nike.
They got rid of the outlet right here.
No, they got a new one right here.
Oh, they moved it?
Well, it's on 24. It's not too far from me.
We're close.
I'm only going if you're going with me, big guy.
I'll go with you.
Okay.
I'll go after this.
Is it hood?
Open.
Fuck it, let's go.
No, it's that new. It's a new. It's like it's like a Tanger
right?
outlet kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because like I don't care about like I've never once bought a watch that wasn't a Timex, and even when I bought that, I didn't wear it because I don't like jewelry. I wear this because that's I do this for my wife.
100%.
And to be like, hey, that's my wife, and so I wear this rubber ring because of that. So, I don't care about a car. To me, like my car is, as long as it's safe for my kids and it gets me from point A to point B, and it doesn't look like a junker. I don't want to be walking around, but I don't have a car in my mind that I'm like, dude, that's my dream car. Yeah. I think if I was going to do something like that, it was like I love old cars, but I would almost rather have one that's like looks like an old car. You know, maybe it's got a couple of patches on it of rust, but it's like an old Trans Am or something like that. I don't know, but we've always had these conversations. Like even when it come down to everything from vacations, what I do love is experiences.
Yeah, and that's number one. I think. Hopefully, hopefully you got there younger than most people, but I think for most people as they age out of like materialism, because I'm definitely in a phase where since we moved to Nashville, I haven't bought, I don't even think, a pair of shoes. I just don't care anymore. I'm
$38.
Yeah, so I mean, like I just I don't have it in me, and I'm definitely more of like a minimalist. Like I'll wear like a black shirt and jeans most times. Like I was like, oh, podcast, let me put on my best color.
Yeah.
Like I keep it simple because it's just one less decision for me. But yeah, it's experiences. I would much rather, to your point, like I had a lot of $250K sports cars. There was a point where I had a $3,800 car note and a $2,300 mortgage. Yeah, douchebag.
You're say $3,800 car note. That would be more than my house and both my cars and my insurance.
And my wife would kill me. She's like, "What? It was a $260,000 car." She's like, "You're pulling a $260,000 car up to a $230,000 house." Right, and the discrepancy in the payment was cars are 7-8 years, and the house is it was a 15 or a 30.
And but you got to tell her though that house is going to keep getting worth more, and that car is going to get worth less. So, it's the value that it will be worth.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I just think it's interesting because I do believe that most of my friends,
salesman,
most of my people that I know, they do have like, man, I want to get a nicer car, man, I want a bigger house, or man, I want this or that, and I think for me, I've just never. And I grew up in a trailer, grew up pretty poor. And then by the time I was 14, kind of couch surfing. So to me, when I'm at a place that's like my home, like I feel great about it. I mean, I have my little house right now. I mean, it's the nicest house I've ever lived in. And it's the newest house I've ever lived in. So, and it's probably the smallest model on the road, right? On our neighborhood. Probably the
you guys live in the same neighborhood?
Yeah, same neighborhood. We've been buddies for
buds.
20 years.
Me out.
No, first off, you had your own place. You can move into our neighborhood if you want. There, Jim will sell you a house, I know. Commissions, baby. No, but I just think it's interesting because I definitely want to go through this process. Like I want to go through this and figure out what it is. Like for me, I love entertaining people. I love bringing joy to people's life.
Yeah.
Regardless if that's through my singing and playing, if it's through my speaking, if it's through mentorship.
Well, we're all professional storytellers at heart. And
that's
how the world connects.
I mean, so
you guys do it through music, through one medium,
But I enjoy that, and I guess money has never been my driving force ever. I want to make it.
But the more you help, the more you do, the more you realize you have to have money.
It's leverage.
No, I mean, I think that's the biggest thing that's happened is I've just realized I'm like, in order to do these things that I want to do, in order to give the way I want to give, in order to help the way I want to help, I got to have more money.
Yeah.
And then also, when you have kids, obviously everything changes because your priorities change. When you have a wife involved, who like, I want her to wake up every day and do what she loves to do.
Yeah.
And she loves health and fitness. She loves helping, teaching people and all that kind of stuff. And she started this business. When we left V-Shred, the mindset was, hey, you're going to create your own company. And she's done a great job at doing that. And now it's like, how do you market that company? Because now you ain't got no funds. You were making $130,000 a year over here at V-Shred, which is pretty good money.
Well,
But now you have your own company. But by the way, they spend millions of dollars.
I'm gonna say they're a marketing company. They're not a health and fitness company. For the record, that's
I mean, they're great. I mean,
they are mastered marketing.
And we've met with some of their people that
they're good.
We've met with some of their. They'll get you in. I can't tell people. They really drew me in when they were burning eggs with a blowtorch. I'm like. I don't even know. Why was that in there?
Dude, they got me on their
They were burning fat, I guess.
I signed up there the email list just because I noticed that he kept popping up everywhere, and I was like, the dude makes me watch him. He's making me watch him. So I was like, I wonder what their email list is like, just because from a marketing study.
Reverse engineer what they're up to.
And they started sending me stuff, and dude, I mean, like within probably 2 weeks, I got excited when the email popped up. I was like, oh, I gotta read. Like, I wanted to watch whatever he was about to say. Yeah. I wasn't even buying any of this shit, and I was still excited to watch.
So they were gonna make my wife the female face of the company for a while. So they had her going through the scripts and teaching her how to do it the way he does and how to hold the camera and how to walk. And they even gave her a thing like, you're gonna follow this pace. So they had a thing with scroll. And she had to read it at that pace.
Yeah, like a teleprompter.
And they would send it back to him, and they're like, yeah, you almost got it there, but put more inflection on this word. And I mean, she went through all that, and it was like I said, it was all that was really close to cool, some cool stuff happening. But I think what happened was we realized and overall, I liked the company. They were good to us. We made some good money with them. And coming at a time in my life, I didn't plan on doing it. I walked in one day. My wife goes, I got you a new computer. I'm like, why? She goes, oh, yeah, you got a new job. I'm like, I do? She goes, yeah. She goes, we're getting hammered with like 1,500 people signing up a day, and we only have like 8 trainers to write these meal plans. And since pretty extensive
Tell
knowledge.
me what business to go into without telling me what business to go into.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
1,500 people.
Oh, I'm talking about.
per day.
I was doing sometimes 80 to 100 meal plans.
AI's
a day.
writing out those meal plans now.
Yeah.
I could do a meal plan for you.
Yeah.
I could customize everyone's meal plan
Yeah.
in here in about 6
Oh, it took me
minutes before I
so
leave
the
here.
first day, the first day I started off, I had 4 or 5 meal plans, and it took me about 5-6 hours to write those meal plans. So I was sitting there, I was like, okay, because I'm trying to get their macros perfect and all this other stuff. Well, then fast forward 2-3 days later, now they give me 20 meal plans. I'm like, how the hell am I going to get this done? I was there all day long. I didn't realize that I could take the base meal plan
Yeah, of course.
and adjust it.
Hey, start from scratch.
So I was writing it from scratch every single time on the program.
Chicken.
Yeah. So
You didn't cheat much in high school, did you?
Hey, now you see why
That's
we're
the first
impressed.
thing that I thought about.
yeah. So I
That
didn't
he's
realize
paying for AI.
So I went to my wife. I was like, how do you get 40 of these things done? And she's like, well, show me how you're doing. I was like, okay. And I get the blank page up and I start putting it in. And I was like, okay, it's a 5'7", female that weighs 214 pounds, and she wants to do this diet. That was the crazy thing about it is they sell a carb cycle thing, and then I'd have so many people like, yeah, I'm vegan. I'm like, okay, but I want a carb cycle. I'm like, I mean, we can, but it's just going to be high carb, a little less than high carb. But it's, every single source of protein you have,
is going to have
carbs in it.
Sure.
So I was trying to explain that to people, and then they would be like, "Hey, I want to do keto, but I want to do carb cycling." I'm like,
That's
not how that works.
Oxymoron, yeah.
I'm like, I got to give you 80% fats. You know what I mean? So, but I learned in that process that they were great at marketing. They were great at what they did.
They really are.
The company overall, I don't have a whole lot of complaints about them. They were good people overall. I think anytime you have bigger money involved and massive investors,
That's
and
the thing.
all that kind of
answer to
stuff,
so many
you're
talking
just
heads. Yeah.
you just realize that you're a number.
Sure.
Like to me, I always grew up like when I was a general manager of Sonic Drive-In when I was younger. Each employee, I wanted them to know that they were valued, that they had more value to me than just coming in and clocking out.
That's where I'm wrestling with scaling this program. Is
Yeah.
right now I only have 71 guys, and I love it that way because I want to know.
Yeah.
What's your pain
Well,
points? What's your kids' names? What's their
You got
birthdays?
to get mentors and stuff.
Well, I have 6 coaches now spread
Right,
across
yeah.
the country, but it's still very much the Nick Alfano show, and we're trying to figure out how to scale me.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons that it's so interesting because this is what me and my wife are going through now of trying to understand do you want to grow?
Yeah, I
Or
wrestle
do you
with it.
not want to grow?
Yeah.
Are you happy where you're at and you just need to scale because you can spend a lot of your money figuring out how to get to that next spot or doing things so you can grow
Right.
only to go, I didn't actually want to be there. I actually wanted to go backwards a little bit.
I'd rather optimize
and
what I
might
have.
make
Yeah.
more money
Correct.
and be happier.
Correct. With less on my plate, and
Right.
because right now the capacity, I'm definitely spread extremely thin in terms of trying to, figure out the next scale method while still servicing the clients. While you know what I mean, so it's a bit of a conundrum because usually by now I have like a very basic approach to business and I can get things up and running and flying, but I've never been so emotionally attached to a business before from a place of purpose, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's so important to me that these guys, sometimes we have this thing we send out. It's called a ding dong dick kick.
That's my favorite part.
Yeah, so I literally have a box.
I'm so excited to hear about it.
Yeah, one of the most common things that guys do in general is they hide. So if you're being held accountable, so you have to turn in your maps every Sunday. You have to do your maps. You have to basically send in to your swim buddy and then publish them in my group what you're committed to doing that week. And you have a deadline, and there's obviously the 4 sections, and usually there's 3 to 4 things you're committed to doing in each F, and it could be read 10 minutes of scripture 7 days a week. It could be date night with the wife is always on there, but it could be individual date nights with each kid. All that to say,
my week's packed then.
yeah, you're done.
That's all 7 for you.
7 days.
You're going on a date every night, bro. You better get ready to pay some expensive prices on those carnivore
But
steaks.
they'll come out of their mouth a lot of things, right? And we have this code that we live by, which is an acronym off of truth, and the H stands for honor your word. And if it comes out of your mouth, it has to get done, because that's the problem with men and why they're losing their power. Is if it comes out of your mouth, it's done. It's non-negotiable now, or don't fucking say it.
We've been talking about that a lot,
Yeah.
letting your yes be yes and your no be no.
Yeah. And so healthy boundaries. How do you actually? Most men, especially the message I seem to attract, and it's because of who I am at my core. We're go givers. Like we want to give.
I love that book.
Yeah, by Bob Burke, and it's up there in my top 5. So when you're a giver, it's very hard to say no to people, and so the problem with every time you say yes to somebody, you're saying no to something else, and
absolutely.
so. You start to not be able to create healthy boundaries, and then what happens with extreme givers is you say yes to so many people, and now you're pouring from an empty cup, and you end up letting everybody down.
Yep.
Because you only have so much capacity, and you didn't mean to. You had the best intentions. Oh, I'm gonna help you. Yeah, you need me at your house to move. Oh, you need me to help you with that thing. Write that copy. AI thing. Gotcha,
And
guys.
you start letting yourself down, and where does that trickle to your wife, to your children?
Oh man, my wife will tell you all day, and still to this day, she's like, sometimes you neglect your 4 walls to make sure the rest of the world fucking wins, and I have a problem with that. And I'm glad that she can actually say that to me.
But who did you neglect first?
Me.
Right.
Yeah, 100%.
That's how you neglect them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't looked at it like, so I knew I was going to be gone this weekend because I had that event on Saturday, and it was I had to be there at like 7 o'clock in the morning, and I was going to be there till 8:30, 9 o'clock at night at least, and I had an hour and a half drive to get back home. And I forgot that I had told this guy, who's a good buddy of mine, and I love him, but he had asked me to play his writers round downtown Nashville. And I try to avoid downtown Nashville unless I'm getting paid.
Hey, man.
because
Me too.
Yeah. So anyways, but I was like, yeah, sure, man, I'll do it. It was at Hank's Boogie Bar or something like this, And my buddy Seth, who, like I said, we've been friends for, a long time. And he just asked me, are you open on April 14th? I'm like, yeah, I don't got nothing. I didn't look to see what day of the week it was or anything, but I'm like, I knew I didn't have anything booked. And I got a pretty good memory. Like I can keep stuff in my head. It's like, yeah, I'm good. Let's do it. Let's do it. Then the thing popped up while I'm at the event on Saturday. Tomorrow event, Riders Night down. It pops up on my calendar. I'm like, that must be for Monday. Maybe I did a 2-day, and I looked at it. I'm like, no, that says tomorrow, and I got to be there from like 7:30 or from. I had to get there at like 6:30. Start playing at 7. It was from 7 to 8:30, and I'm like, so I had to go to my wife and be like, babe.
We're not watching American Idol tonight.
Yeah, well, we don't watch that anyways. We watch BB Finn and Simon and all the stuff the kids like. But no, I was literally like, I felt bad. I felt like I was letting her down because I'd already been gone. I've been gone a lot here lately, a lot of speaking engagements, a lot of, time away from home, just putting stuff together and some cool things happening. But, I felt bad. I felt like I let her down. Of course, I said to her, I'm like, hey, and she was like, look, she's like, you said you were going to do it, so go do it.
Yep.
She's like, but just next time, look at your calendar and make sure it's not on a Sunday, because Sunday we try to spend the whole day together. So we try to get up, we try to go to church together, and we always get up and go to church together, but get up, go to church together, usually have some kind of little, middle of the day we'll go to the park, or have a picnic or do something. And then at nighttime, the goal is to be there to get them in bed by 7, 8 o'clock so that, they get up for school the next day.
Sure.
My baby girl, she doesn't get up for school, but she gets up for preschool 2 days a week because that's how they'll do at the church. But anyways, it was just it was one of those moments. Like I said, I continue to do this, and Jerry gets on to me about it all the time. It's like, oh yeah, I got you, man. No, I can do that. No, I'll come help you do that. No, I'll do that.
Yeah. Boundaries create balance.
And it's all free stuff. I'm
Yeah.
like, and I realize I'm like, dude, I keep doing all this stuff because I'm like, yeah, I can help you.
Well, can
And
I stop you just for 1 second? Can
Yeah.
we just confirm that both of you have me on your calendars for May 11th?
What's going on there?
Yeah, have you on my calendar.
So I don't forget.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
It's under Jeff event. That's something I want to do, by the way, and my wife can come to.
Heck yeah.
And we can eat
You'll be
some good
invited. You
food.
can be invited as well, brother.
What is it? Secret stuff?
No,
So it's going to be the 1 year anniversary for my wife's boutique in the borough.
Nice.
Yeah.
We did a charity event, and he bought one of him and what's the other?
Me, Tony, and
somebody else.
Dave Stagg.
Yeah, David. They just bought one of these packages that we were auctioning off for the charity, where we come and play for like an hour and a half, music, and then they serve you food from this restaurant called The Alley on Main, and they purchased one of those, and I think that one was to which charity?
Which one
Was
was
it
it?
United
that
Way?
night? No, that was the one before.
Mechanics on a Mission? No. Either way, it was the one with Tyler Farr, I thought.
It was Tyler Farr.
Okay,
yeah.
it was United Way then.
Well, Matt Murphy put us down for August 26th. That's his golf one. So put that back on your calendar.
Okay.
He made me do that like live in front of him today at lunch.
Yeah, come on with it.
Yeah.
Wait, is that the one with John Daly? I'm doing one that month, I know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's the same one he did last year.
Yeah, he did it last
Oh.
year because he told
Oh,
us,
no, that's with Chuck. I helped bring in the big sponsor last year for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was
Because we learned
Cooper.
about it last minute. I think that was like a week, 2 weeks after
Yeah,
he was on our podcast.
literally, they come to me and said, "Hey, do you think you got any people that might want to come put the golf thing together?" I was like, "What is it?" Like, "It's next weekend."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Okay." And they're like, "But Jason Aldean's going to be there, and Chuck, and named off a bunch of people." I was like,
Shit, Donald Trump was potentially
he was
supposed to show up.
Trump was potential going to show up, and I showed it to Coop, to Jordan Cooper, and he looked at the golf course. He goes, "Trump ain't going to come to that golf course." He's like, "He would come to this event, but he won't go to that golf course." I was like, "Why?" He goes, "Not secure enough." I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, there's too many points of entry. There's too many things." He's like, I guess, do you know?
I know of him, Cooper. Yeah.
So he's like, before you have to have a place that is more controlled when you bring in Trump, because I guess there's so many people out to get him and stuff. So I was like, all right, that's interesting.
Makes sense.
So I thought he was saying because it wasn't good enough golf course. I was like, dang. I was like, and he goes, no. He goes, there's too many access to get in that could, people could get in that.
And that's a patchy ass green. Yeah, it won't roll. Yeah.
But anyways, no, that was that ended up being good. I think they ended up raising like $250,000 or $300,000 at that thing.
I know.
Awesome.
I know. Had a good turnout.
Brad Lee dropped a decent little check.
Yeah.
At that
Oh
one.
yeah, he's living over in Franklin.
He's in Brentwood.
Brentwood.
Yeah, he's in the Witherspoons.
Yeah, I'm supposed to do his podcast at some point, dropping bombs.
Yeah, I went out there and did that.
I ain't got nothing to sell. I ain't got nothing to sell on there.
Let's get back to
We get so sidetracked.
Yeah.
Let's get back to
but it's all about making men better.